Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back with another recording of Hearthstone. Today is Monday, December 3rd, and we are on the European account. Let's see, we have a challenge a friend, and we have play mage cards. We'll re-roll that. Odd cards, paladin cards, challenge a friend. I tried to challenge a friend last night and they rejected my challenge, so I defriended them. Like, that's the rule basically that it has to boil down to, is if somebody doesn't accept a challenge a friend request from me, then I can't stay friends with them, because it's such a hard thing to get done. Like it's actually really hard to have people be online and play Hearthstone and accept a challenge. Anyways, let's see. I'm gonna watch this guy. I don't have a watch and learn, but I'm gonna watch this guy since he's at like 16 right now. Let's see. Does he really have enough to survive? And we'll start looking at the news immediately while we're here. The expansion should be coming out as of this recording tomorrow on December 4th, so I'm want to get everything done, even though it's only Monday. And we've got a lot of news to cover while we can do that, so. We've got a game over here called Mars Total Warfare, which looks like it is a real-time strategy game with some low asset flips. Honestly, what it looks like is somehow they got like NASA satellite imagery of Mars, and then they tried to texture those probably low-resolution images that are publicly available into a map, and it just looks horrible. You can see this game is already mixed, and even if it wasn't mixed, it's a free-to-play game, so I don't have to consider it, and even if it wasn't a free-to-play game, I wouldn't consider it. So there's multiple reasons why that is not making it to the list. Let's see. So the new cards from the next expansion, now that I've looked at them, might synergize with this card in a weird way, but I think you'd probably have to play some other cards too. Yeah, I don't think that there's just gonna be this card and one other card. I think you're gonna end up having to play a 4 or 5 card combination for it to do something really crazy. So you play this, and then he's drawing the rest of his deck. This is an interesting strategy he's playing. You fill this deck with a bunch of these spiders to fill his board.
I'm out of cards.
And then he can transform and get armor and upgrade everything.
I am the frozen
Interesting.
heart of the scourge. Chosen.
So you can just play this again to transform a friendly minion if he wants. While he's still playing, you know. Shuffle 10 cards from your opponent's deck into your deck. Interesting. So he had a whole strategy there of drawing all his cards and then stealing cards from the opponent. Meanwhile, over here on Steam, we have a game called Kick the Puppet, which looks like it's a kinda low effort clicker idle game with some, for people with probably a dangerous amount of violent tendencies. Like this really does feel like it's just a little sadistic for my taste. 40% for 59 cents. Yeah. Yeah, this does not feel like it has enough of a narrative reason behind making a clicker game where you're just torturing this voodoo doll. Yep, that's not going to the wish list. That's something that you could have like a section or a mini game or scene like that in a bigger game, and I'd be okay with it. But when it's the only thing to think about whatsoever, and there is like no other point or reason for it, that seems not well thought out. It's taking as well a long time to win. Speaking of not looking well thought out, we have a game called Yo My Yo, which is just a looks like infinite road driving game, avoiding what I assume these brown dots are people and avoiding other cars. $2.50 for this piece of garbage. Like some of this animation, I don't know how you make a video game around this animation. I wouldn't call this terrible if you were just drawing a car, but you would not. You can't just do that and make a game. You've got to do something more. Make it more 3D. Have it have a appearance of some kind. Or you know, if you honestly, if you drew cars like this and then zoomed out a lot more to the point where it wasn't focused on, that might be alright. Like this orange car, if it was a tiny little pixel, or 16 by 16 pixels, that would be fine. But then you need to zoom the camera out and show the whole track and make it look more like an arcadey old school racing game. I don't know what's taking him so long to win here. He should have won by now. Moving on, Gamasutra has an article. The Starbreeze CEO departs as the company files for administration. So, administration, I assume in this case, is a different way of saying bankruptcy. Maybe Starbreeze Studio is in a different country. Starbreeze has filed for administration after the underwhelming launch of Overkill's The Walking Dead left the company in dire financial straits. Not really surprised that this is happening, frankly. Overkill's The Walking Dead clearly did not have enough advertising for it. Like that is a game that could have been pushed a lot harder and released in a much better time frame, and more people, at least some more people, would have been interested in it. Otherwise, it really just came out one day, people mentioned it, and that was it. People forgot it immediately. Let's see. Lemon Lover's on the chat. He says, hello, Rydo. Hello, Lemon Lover. Yeah. Let's see. The article from Gamasutra continues. It's only been a few days since the Swedish developer / publisher revealed it was cutting costs and refocusing on its core business, with The Walking Dead struggling to pull in sales, but the news still comes as a surprise. The situation looks to be much worse than initially anticipated, and Starbreeze has explained the game's latest sales statistics have affected its financial forecast, resulting in a shortfall of cash in January 2019. So they didn't even have a couple of months of cash to to spare. Interesting. With the firm going through the ringer, Starbreeze CEO Bo Anderson has resigned effective immediately and will also be departing the company's board of directors. The board of Starbreeze AB and the board of the company's Swedish subsidiaries, Starbreeze Publishing, Starbreeze Production, and Starbreeze Studios, Innerspace and Innerspace International have today filed for reconstruction with the Stockholm District Court, explains the press release. The decision is based on a shortfall of liquidity and deemed to be necessary to give the company the time needed to negotiate a long-term financial solution and implementation in the organization and operations. The financial targets for Q4 2018 and 2020 no longer applies. End quote. Starbreeze has reassured its staff that its reconstruction framework will not include employee salaries, and the day-to-day operations will continue as usual. Yeah, right.
The choice is mine alone.
So you can kind of look at this if you want to and say that the CEO took the golden parachute, ran the company into the ground, and is now taking the money and running. Starbreeze, I'm fairly sure, was growing slightly in popularity as a publisher. I think Starbreeze also kind of has no games or intellectual properties of value. All they have, I think, is Payday 2, Payday 1, the heist. And then they were trying to make money as a publisher when they really shouldn't have been a publisher. More and more, it makes very little sense to do business with publishers when you can just do Steam Direct or be your own publisher just as easily. There are some times when a publisher makes sense, but most times these days not really. Gearbox Publishing, I think in a lot of ways, is dangerously close to the same situation. If you told me tomorrow that Gearbox was going to file bankruptcy because they had been spending money for years secretly developing Borderlands 3 and they can't really do it, or because they screwed up on Battleborn, or because We Happy Few didn't make them enough money as the publisher for that.
Perplexing.
I wouldn't be surprised if that happens. Gearbox in particular, that they've got to put out a success in the next couple of years or they're going to run out of money. I don't know why he lost there, but that's... Now if this guy rejects me, yeah. Well, if this guy rejects me, then I'm going to remove him. Moving on, I'll have to challenge a friend later. Paladin class cards. Odd Paladin, play rank, go. Let's see. If I search Starbreeze Studios on Wikipedia, we could kind of see what games they have on their list. 2000, they made the games they developed were in 2000 called The Outforce. I've never heard of it. Enclave, never heard of it. Knights of the Templar Eternal Crusade, never heard of it. The Chronicles of Riddick, Escape from Butcher Bay. Good game, certainly, but I don't think it's... Oh, apparently it is on PC, but I bet it's not on Steam, if I was to guess. The Darkness, The Darkness isn't a game I'd like to play. Apparently that is not on PC, though. I think The Darkness 2 is on PC, isn't it? Or am I thinking of something completely different? Critical's Riddick Assault on Dark Athena. Another PC game. Syndicate. Payday 2. I don't even see Payday 1 listed here as something they developed. And then Brothers, A Tale of Two Sons. I played that game. It's alright, but it's certainly not a long enough or good enough game that would keep a company solvent. So in 2013, they made Payday 2 and Brothers, A Tale of Two Sons. In 2018, a full 5 years later, they made Overkill, The Walking Dead. So that's not good. And in the meantime, between 2013 and 2018, they kind of didn't do anything for 3 years, but then they published Dead by Daylight, which, you know, that didn't succeed amazingly well. They published the John Wick Chronicles, which it says is on Windows, but I don't think it's on Steam again. They published a game called Anti-Sphere. They published a game called Raid World War II. They published a game called Inked. And they were going to publish Psychonauts 2 for Double Fine. I bet they don't now. And System Shock 3. Also, they were going to publish that. So I wouldn't be surprised if we start seeing some of these people who were going through Starbreeze just to self-publish. There we go. Yeah, they literally, I think the problem here is they just took 5 years to make a new game and a new IP, and the way they released Payday 2 was a mess. Clearly what you could have done is Brothers, A Tale of Two Sons 2, just made a sequel to that, or a spiritual sequel to that, in some way. And let's see, I would have also imagined that they should have done something with Payday, or at least hint that Payday 3 might come out. But they needed more tentpole series, and they needed more IP that they owned, and they didn't seem to really own any IP that had any value. Like, they really should have made The Darkness 3. I'm gonna click on The Darkness and see who made The Darkness 2. Darkness 2 was published by 2K and developed by Digital Extremes. And let's look at what Digital Extremes has been doing recently.
Mushroom power! The battle! The battle! The battle! For justice!
Let's see. Digital Extremes has a game coming out in 2018 called Survived By. Never heard of it. 2017 they made a game called The Amazing Elements. 2015 they made Sword Coast Legends. 2013 they made Star Trek. 2013 they made Warframe. And apparently 2011 they made Homefront. 2012 they made The Darkness 2. They did the multiplayer for BioShock 2. I thought the multiplayer the multiplayer for Bioshock 2 was pretty good. Unnecessary, definitely, but pretty good. Can I take this guy out? Not really. It seems like Digital Extremes mostly does not a lot. Apparently they worked on Unreal and Unreal Tournament back in the day. Yeah, they should have figured out how to make the Darkness 3 and 2 or 3 other new intellectual properties. Licensing everything for the Walking Dead was a bad move, even if it had it been super successful. Alright, if I play this, I can't play this. This should kind of work.
The battle.
So I'll hit that. And I'll hit that. And I can't quite kill it, but I can keep playing. Moving on, Gamma Sutra has an article. It's a blog. Have a Vision with that game company, Eric Conch. When was this print came out? Yeah, it came out recent. This looks like a interview basically with Eric Conch. If you're interested, you can get that off Gamma Sutra. I don't have time for these kind of interviews. If anything interesting would have been said, they would have had a better title. Gamma Sutra has another article. Devs say a problem with the Steam algorithm has severely hurt store page traffic. Indie devs are calling attention to a significant drop in traffic to the Steam pages for their games on the platform that very suddenly appeared at the beginning of October and has persisted ever since. So, for 3 days, basically. Is there a way that there isn't a bug? I suppose. It could be that there isn't a bug, but typically when YouTube would say, oh, we've looked into it and found there wasn't a bug, there actually was a bug. Let's see. This is from Gray Alien Games, Jake Burkett, and I follow him on Twitter, so I saw him make this claim. But I don't know if that means indie developers, plural. It's just one person spouting off, basically, on Steam, on Twitter. Gray Alien Games, James Burkett, has rounded up his own experience with a sudden shift in a blog post and tweet on the topic, and other developers have since chimed in to say they've also saw a sharp decrease in traffic around early October as well. Now, early October,
Reporting for duty.
like,
For justice.
I don't know, would something have changed right in October, or is it just because the sale has happened, or is it because, well, early October would have been 2 months ago, yeah. So, yeah.
Unity. Precision.
I was thinking it was saying early December, but, you know. As Burkett notes, there is a known discovery bug at the beginning of October that has since been fixed, but some devs are still reporting noticeable hits in traffic and thus sales. When comparing data from before and after the bug, it's worth noting, however, that as both Burkett and devs on Twitter point out, some indie developers haven't seen a change in traffic, but the number of devs that have had issues still seems to indicate that something is up at Valve's end. could it be that Valve has just changed its recommendation engine a little bit, and people don't want to play those specific style of games, or aren't getting shown those style of games as often? Let's see. Lemon Lover asks, Rydo, I know you normally stream Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Do you work the other days of the week or something? Question mark. If you mean work as in go out and work another job, the answer is no. This is the only potential hope of any source of income that I have whatsoever. If you mean, do I, as my own boss, try to record pre-recorded footage and work on my YouTube channel in other ways, whether it's scheduling videos or doing perhaps some other projects, then yes, I do work on the other days. In fact, I work almost every day. There are, like, every couple of weeks I do have to go to the grocery store, and I'll take a day off then, or every now and then, particularly in the winter months, the seasonal affective disorder or the insomnia will just encourage me to not do anything. And there are some days where I just go, yeah, I don't feel like it, and I'll just watch some Netflix or do something else. But yeah, I'm always working on the YouTube channel. That's why up until this point I've been able to make so many videos that have been pre-recorded. Starting next year, it's probably going to be a lot less because I've kind of burned myself out and I'm getting too old and too tired to try and have 3 or 4 videos air every weekday. But no, there's no other job. There might be at any point at the drop of the hat a point where I do have to go get a job, and at that point maybe no content would come on my channel, or maybe some content would come on my channel, but it would be a lot less. Maybe I could put a video out to explain what has happened and what has changed if it comes to that point, but maybe I would just disappear without a say. The only thing I can really say there is, until I had enough Patreon supporters that were paying a reasonable living wage for me, $2,500 a month between all the Patreons, probably is something I could live on. That's still living pretty cheap. And until I had like guaranteed income like that, this job certainly isn't paying enough to pay bills. I'm just in a very weird situation because I live with a disabled family member who needs me to be around. At least right now they do. So I'm just in that, in a very unique, weird position because of that. So Lemon Lover responded, I gotcha. Yeah, I meant if you had a traditional job, I guess I would call it. Lemon Lover says that's awesome. Let's see. Lemon Lover goes, too old, Rydo. I know you don't give specifics, but there have been those comments before. You can't be that old. Just a general age rating. I suppose it's not telling anything too specific to say. I'm between the age rating of 29 and 39. So, but I have always joked personally about me being too old. Like, I was saying I was too old when I was in kindergarten, basically. I'm too old for this poop. Yeah, that's more of just a joke than anything. But it's not completely untrue either. I am certainly probably not the healthiest person as far as energy levels and ambition. Even when I was a spry 21-year-old, I wasn't out there and spending a lot of energy doing things. But I think a lot of it also is just insomnia. I've had insomnia my entire life, and insomnia just drains the energy out of you.
My power over you grows stronger yet.
Let's see, Lemon Lover. I know that's why I was always so curious. Haha. And age is half chronology and half mental mentality too. Like, I feel because I think like an old person a lot of times, more than an actual age. I know a lot of people who are actually very, very old but act like children and think like children quite a bit. And so, and then I know very mature younger people too. Keep on playing here. I think this guy's probably just letting me play all the cards, which is fine in this case. Let's see, this Gamma Sutra article concludes saying that RocketWorks CEO Dean Hall says that his team has been seeing a 10% as much traffic for their game. So about 10% as much traffic. So they got an increase in 10%. Another developer, Peter Anstad, behind the game Kingdoms and Castles, says sales dropped 30 to 50% when the bug first hit, and you have yet to recover. Now, what would be really scary is if it turned out that Steam is experimenting with like shadow banning some games. I don't know why they would do that though. Let's see, it's probably just a bug. Or maybe they just changed the recommendation engine. Which wouldn't be a terrible thing for the consumer because, let's face it, if you are on Steam a lot like I am, what you get recommended as far as games are the same games over and over again. So the discovery engine may have just upgraded and might be suggesting different types of games to your average player. Let's see, well, we're playing Paladin cards and making some work there. Yep. And then Gamma Sutra says if anybody saying that all the developers are talking about it on a forum post, and they'll update us if Gamma Sutra gets any more information.
Let the hunt begin. I will fight with honor.
Let's see. Lemon Lover said very true. That to go back to the idea of a traditional job though, yeah, I seriously doubt I would succeed very well at this point trying to run a YouTube channel and run a traditional job. I'm not 100% sure I could even do a full 8 hours in most jobs. That being a YouTuber who just has to talk and sit in a chair and play video games is a lot less physically demanding than most other real jobs. Just the amount of standing and physical activity and dealing with people. Like, being a YouTuber is a kind of unique way in which you deal with people, in which you can very easily and quickly mute and block people. Whereas if you've got a troll for a coworker, if you've got a troll for a boss, which I've certainly dealt with trolls for coworkers and bosses in the past, there's no easy mute button there to not have to deal with those type of people. Or if you have a troll for the customer that you're dealing with, that's no good. So yeah, I probably, if I did have to take a traditional job, would immediately stop creating any content whatsoever. It's not likely I could make anything at all. That is in part why I wanted my pre-recorded footage to be like a year in advance, particularly since I'm playing just old games and doing retrospectives on old games. What does it matter if a Borderlands 2 video airs in 2018 versus 2019? It really doesn't. So that was the goal at the beginning of this year, was to have a bigger buffer. And instead of having a bigger buffer, I got overly ambitious, and then I got not very productive in winter here, and so I have less of a buffer than I've ever had before, and so I'm gonna try and reaffirm developing a buffer for 2019, so by the end of 2019 I'll have like a year of videos scheduled and ready to go out in at least 2 time slots on my channel, and then I would just have to focus on streaming, and then streaming may go away permanently too. Let's see. Lemon Lover said earlier, that's why it's my dream job in most cases. Own boss, you can control who you deal with, etc. Yep. Being a YouTuber in a lot of ways, or being your own boss in a lot of ways, is a dream job, but also you're responsible for everything. You've got to motivate yourself to do everything. If something goes wrong, it's absolutely your fault. You can't blame anybody else. There's no like health insurance, there's no support, there's no unemployment insurance. You're left really to your own devices. How much you succeed or fail is in a lot of ways on you and no one else. But then also, running your own business also comes down to you have to bring in your own customers. As a YouTuber, somehow, and there's really no way to do it that I've found, you have to figure out how to get people to watch your videos. And if you look at the views of most of my videos, I've yet to succeed at that. Most of my videos don't get but 1 view over the course of the first month they're out. I'm hoping that eventually my channel would get bigger and more people would go back and watch some of my older videos, so that they could make a few pennies every month. But that's not really how it's been going lately. Also, working as a YouTuber is weird because you're still kind of not in charge of everything, because you have to deal with YouTube and their BS and content ID and copyright strikes and other scammers claiming they own your content. And then you have to deal with YouTube changing everything and demonetizing everything, and just that you're really not left to your own devices too much. And one of the things, like I've run businesses before, one of the things I definitely have learned is if you're trying to sell a product or service to a direct end user, just a regular consumer, that's really, really hard a lot of times because people are broke and they just don't want to spend money if they can get away with not spending money. So, like, unless you're a plumber, in which people are calling during an emergency and you can charge them through the nose like that, if you've got something new or something that is more of a luxury or optional, a lot of people are just not going to buy. A lot of people are not going to want to pay the price that is a fair price, and you end up dealing with customers quite a bit. And that certainly has colored my opinion and how I've dealt with my channel, where I've not been super focused on trying to monetize it. Like, I've seen some other YouTubers that sell out as soon as they get big, and that's not something I really want to do. But so I've been a little bit laid back and chill on it, and I'm just like, whatever. Back when I was monetized in the YouTube Partner Program, I was getting like 7 cents a week, and I was like, whatever, okay, I'm getting 7 cents. That's better than nothing. And then I was getting nothing because I kicked out all the small YouTube people, and yep, it was better than nothing. So now I've got my Patreon, and like, if one person was giving me $1 on Patreon a month, that would be awesome. Like, that's pretty much all I'm looking for at this time. Or if people want to friend me on Steam and gift me a game during like the summer sale or the winter sale once a year for all the content I create, that seems like a pretty fair deal. Or if somebody was just gonna gift me like a $1 game that's on the wish list once a month, that's fine too. So I'm begging for pennies, not looking for whales. Like, it would be kind of cool if somebody just really wanted to support my channel and I had one Patreon donating thousands of dollars a month, but that whale would probably eventually disappear and stop donating. So I would be too reliant on that. I'd much prefer 100 people give $1 than one person give $100 on things like Patreon. Anyways, I'm gonna get off topic on that. Let's see. Lemon Lover says, Rydo, I'll jump on the Patreon if it includes some of that old stashed up Nintendo merch. I'm such a sucker for nostalgia. Speaking of Nintendo, did you hear about the end of the creators program so YouTubers can actually start using Nintendo gameplay? Well, my Nintendo collection sitting in my garage, I would have to sell it for a very high price. I've said that before. As for the Nintendo Partners Program, I am cautiously optimistic on that. There's still some problems, personally, before I would jump in and start playing a Nintendo game. One thing they said is you can't play pirated games. So if I own a copy of like Super Mario Bros. 3 for the NES, which I do, of course, can I then legally rip a ROM, a backup copy of that game using some kind of reader, and then run that ROM on my PC and stream that to my video? Probably not legally, no. But the question, would Nintendo care about that? And would they potentially delete my channel? Because Nintendo, like a week earlier before ending that program, caused another YouTuber's channel to be deleted because they put out some leaked music tracks for the next Smash Brothers. So I'm not sure I 100% believe what they're saying yet, and I couldn't really play old games, so then that kind of just leaves me with, I would have to get a $500 capture box of some sort that I could plug into my PC, so I could then plug in like an NES or a Nintendo Switch or a GameCube or anything like that to play these games. And there is still a Nintendo of Japan content LED claim, copyright claim, on the E3 presentation from 2018 of Mario and Raving Rabbids, which was not owned by Nintendo in the first place because it was a Ubisoft product that had just licensed Mario. Also, it wasn't copyrightable because it was a trailer, and commercials and trailers can't be copyrighted. So, while the idea sounds good, that in practice, how it actually gets implemented is still very scary, and I'm still very iffy before I would start playing a Nintendo game. I also am very much committed to only playing games that are on Steam, so unless Nintendo starts putting its games on Steam, it's not something I would cover. And in all seriousness, maybe I would cover Splatoon. I'd cover like Mario Odyssey and Zelda, but that's kind of it as far as the Switch lineup. A lot of the other games I don't have any interest in, or really wouldn't be so story focused that it would matter to cover. So yeah, I have plenty of games, even though I'm trying to get more. I always like to have a big library so I can pick what mood I'm in to play as far as what game I want to play on Steam. But yeah, it's something we're keeping an eye on. Part of the FAQ for the Nintendo, the new written permission, I suppose, is what you're getting there for streaming, also says that they can change their mind at any time. So they could very easily come back and say that they've changed their mind and not allow certain things. For the most part, people who were playing, who were playing all of the Nintendo things on YouTube were kind of just doing it anyways, and Nintendo wasn't really acting around it. So, like, I think one of the YouTubers is Super MC Gamer, who was playing every single Zelda game ever. I don't think he was particularly in the Nintendo Partner Program. Maybe he was. But definitely a significant portion of people weren't, and they were still playing games and just letting Nintendo take the content ID money and monetization.
None will survive.
The thing here to also take in that is, while you can now stream to YouTube, you can't really make money as a new streamer on YouTube. So it's if there was an example of a PewDiePie or Captain Sparkles type YouTuber who plays Nintendo games quite a lot, there really aren't that many. I guess maybe Angry Video Game Nerd, technically. Maybe he could cover more Nintendo games, but he probably already had a special deal. But I don't think anybody's gonna get big playing Nintendo games.
Reporting for duty.
Lemon Lover on the chat said the 3 Nintendo games I mentioned, Mario Odyssey, Zelda, and Breath of the Wild, and Splatoon are all great games. Lemon Lover then said, yeah, they've always been overly strict. Yeah, and I think they will continue to be overly strict. I don't think people should look at this as Nintendo decided to be generous. What Nintendo decided was they were afraid, and they got out lucky, frankly. They were afraid that somebody like PewDiePie would be playing one of their games, and then PewDiePie would say something wrong. He might let a bad word slip or something. And because Nintendo was taking money from that video, because they were claiming it, or the YouTube partner program, the Nintendo partner program, not the YouTube partner program, the Nintendo partner program was taking a percentage of your money, like half of the 70% that you got to take home, because YouTube was taking 30% off the top, then which left you with 70, and then Nintendo was taking 50% of that, leaving you with 35% of the income. What they were afraid is some streamer out there was going to say something really not politically correct, and then there would have been an article going, Nintendo's profiting from hate speech. Nintendo profits from alt-right presenter. That's what they were getting out of. That's why they wanted to do this, in my opinion, is that they just did not want the hassle and the danger. But I would not be surprised if they're still incredibly overly strict about it, because that is the way the Japanese copyright law is believed to be. I don't know if it actually is that way, but copyright law does seem to be incredibly, insanely strict in Japan, and they seem to be, and Japanese companies seem to apply Japanese copyright law to YouTube, even though YouTube is an American company and it would apply only, it only really has to apply to US copyright law, at least until more the European Union and Article 13 and things like that get passed, and then maybe at that point there's a problem like that. Let's see. Lemon Lover said it could be like a monthly subscription box with Patreon. Pay a certain amount and get a small box of random Nintendo items. I can only wish, though. Yeah. Yeah, shipping would be incredibly expensive on anything. It's always the shipping.
Reporting for duty.
Let's see. Literally, the reason why I've set up my Patreon the way it is right now, it specifically tells people, it's like, you're not going to get anything but my thanks, because I don't have any time or energy to offer anything new. If I really wanted my Patreon to be successful, there would be like a special Discord channel for supporters only, and I'd hop onto it and we'd do a special live stream with the Patreons and talk to them, and we'd make something digital. I'd make something digital that I could give special and extra, but all of that requires me to do more work, and the last thing I want to do is take time away from making videos where I'm already feel like I'm falling behind making videos. So yeah, there's really nothing else I could do there. If I had a Patreon, perhaps, that was paying enough that I could hire an artist, which, you know, if I might pay an artist before I even paid myself a penny, to just have somebody who's in charge of making thumbnails, because I don't have any custom thumbnails, and that hurts my videos quite a bit, is what YouTube says all the time. So if I had an artist that made thumbnails and scheduled the videos for me, and then he kind of had free time at that point and was getting paid a full-time wage, at that point I'd maybe have him make some kind of art things. This is what other YouTubers occasionally do, where you'll have like these animated little clips that are in addition, like I'm thinking about like Game Grumps Animated, that they already have an artist on the payroll, so they give them extra work to animate clips and things. Let's see. Moving on with the video game news. I wonder if I played enough cards there, if we're gonna have to jump back into another game. Well, that was enough Paladin cards. Let's see. And this guy is doing battle and can't be spectated. So I guess at this point, because all I have is a challenge a friend, and the new expansion is coming out maybe at midnight tonight, so I might be streaming again tonight at midnight. I guess we'll leave everything where it is. Let's see, I probably shouldn't even bother to try to mark off all of these as old. That's something I'll have to double check when I do the card pack openings. I guess what I should do is see if that worked. You know, it seems like it did. Switch over to the Asian account while we're here. Switching over. Let me double check to make sure my timer is running. Yeah, the timer is actually going to end in just 50 seconds.
You're here! The crowd is getting rowdy!
I often wonder about all the Nintendo stuff in my garage, if it's just all moldy or full of like bugs or rodents. I wouldn't be surprised if it really has just been eaten away by termites and stuff. A lot of it's cardboard and paper stuff. But yeah, it's just another thing I don't want to deal with. 5 games, any mode. Well, I think what we're gonna have in this case is that since I got talking about other things, we'll probably have a little bit of extra news on Wednesday. Might as well just break it up here and we'll start the 3rd recording. So as always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend to follow me on any social media sites, there's a bunch of links down below. Also links to support me through Patreon or friend me on Steam and gift me a game off my wishlist. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.